All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to our Mapleton City Council meeting on Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. We have our council members present with Reed Carlson on the phone this evening. We'll begin with an invocation by Councilman Garrett and led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Jones.
Our kind Father in heaven, we bow before thee this evening. We're thankful for this beautiful day and the weather that we've been able to enjoy. We're grateful for the opportunities that we have to rub shoulders with such great people in this community. We're thankful for the opportunities that we've been given in our lives to be able to enjoy this surrounding and the ample blessings that we enjoy. We are grateful for this evening that we can meet as community members and colleagues and friends. We pray that thou will guide us and direct us in our discussions concerning these various items on the agenda and any others that might come up. We pray that thou will guide us and direct us with thy Spirit, and that we ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. We'll begin with our public forum. We have three who have signed up this evening: Eric Kerr, David McDaniel, and Linda Mickle. If you guys want to come forward and state your name for the record and then speak to us, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Eric Kerr, and I have a son and family members who are residents. I sent an email to the mayor this morning or today, and then I want to say Sean Connery, but Sean.
You're probably right. He's not here this evening, but you're probably right.
Yeah. He reached out to me, and we kind of talked through some things. So basically, the scenario is this: I've got a son who just graduated from BYU. His wife from Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
Where?
And it's in the email. I can never remember.
Gotcha. I haven't had a chance to see the email.
Yeah. Anyways, so they just bought a home or built a home, and super proud of them. They've worked really hard. We gave no financial help as parents. They earned all their own money. They've, on to their careers. She graduated from UVU as a dental hygienist. Plans for family coming up and so forth. Part of their plan in affording this house, which was around $600,000, if you can believe, starter home, was the ability to rent out the basement. And so they had heard from Salisbury Homes, probably in a conversation, like, yeah, you can do that. The challenge that they came up against when they went into planning, and I'm the general contractor for that build out, was that their lot is 5,300 square feet and the limit is 6,000 square feet. So they got denied, and everything else is right in line. They built a separate access. They've got off-road parking, like it's perfect, except for the 6,000. Sean told me that came from the state, and the housing, like I've been in Utah for 25 years. I'm originally from New York, but I don't envy you guys for the challenge with affordable housing and accessory dwelling units and stuff. I actually built an accessory dwelling unit on my property in Salt Lake, which I never believed I could have done, even 5-6 years ago. So my request is that you look at this. They're having to put family on hold because they're having to work more now to afford it. They were counting on that income, and this was really a pretty big surprise to them. So if it's a matter of 500, 600, 700 square feet, everything else is in order, I would submit that some grace, if possible.
Gotcha. And you said you did talk to Sean earlier today.
I talked to Sean earlier. He said, as far as we're concerned, we're fine with it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they don't have any issues with it.
So, Corey, how do you want to handle this? You want to circle back with Sean and have this conversation?
Yeah, what would have to take place is if you wanted to move forward with that, is we'd have to amend the city code
Are we amending the city code, or are we doing a variance, or if we were to move forward that way, is there other options besides
Yeah,
those two?
those would be the two. Trying to get a variance, I think, would be difficult. By state code, there's requirements that have to be met, and I don't see that that would probably meet the variance criteria. So you'd really be looking at amending the city code.
Okay, and it would be in contrary to the state code essentially?
No, so.
Okay, so there's some other options?
Great point he brought up. So if you recall, back in the days, the city code was actually even stricter. I want to
The
say.
third acre.
Third acre
Oh,
lots.
gotcha.
And the state came out and said you have to have at least, allow them 6,000.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
then we came in and amended it to 6,000 square feet, and that's where it's been at this point. State doesn't care if you go lower than that. They
Gotcha.
just want to make sure that you,
Gotcha.
Yeah, and as far as the lot is concerned, it's not a square peg in a round hole, you know? It's very clean. They've already made the off-road parking. The access is there. Like I said, they were ready to go. Their plan, long-term, is to have her mother-in-law or his mother-in-law move in. Her parents are going through a divorce right now, but I don't know if I should make that public comment.
So,
Strike the record.
If it's family, doesn't that change the
That does,
situation?
yeah.
It does, but that's long-term, like, that's not immediate. What they want to do now is he has a friend that he grew up with. They can't afford to do anything, so they were gonna let them rent from them in the basement, so it's not like put up a for rent sign. They're gonna have close friends stay there.
okay. So this is something we're gonna have to get back to you on and discuss. It says in the email that the lot size is just under 5,400, which would be 5,300 approximately change.
Yeah,
And they were in Tomball. That's great. That's in Houston.
yeah.
That's a good spot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then they're in Mapleton Village, so. Okay, so we'll circle back with Sean and Corey. We'll bring the discussion item to the council with all the information from the state code and our city code, and then the council can make a decision. Fair?
There's another, I don't know if you've looked at the HOA. Sometimes that can affect these situations as well.
I know that they're renting in that HOA, so.
Okay.
Is the home built now? And
yeah.
they moved in?
Home's
So it's-
built, occupied,
All right,
yeah.
that's good info.
Well, I'll just, for the record, in advance of this conversation, I don't have any problem considering it and discussing it. My concern, and I live at Harvest Park, so we have very small lots as well.
Yeah.
My question would simply be more around the width of the lot. I don't care what size the lot is, but the frontage, the width, to really adequately accommodate for off-street parking. And I say that very transparently, because we have small lots. A variance or a code change, my concern is that opens that up to Harvest Park having, where we don't have off-street park. Our lots are so small
Yeah.
that we can't accommodate. I just want to be transparent about,
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, it
supportive
could be a-
with
it could be a
the
setback,
conditions, so.
You know, I mean, that's up to you guys to figure
Yeah.
out. They've already got the parking kind of in place. They put a gravel park spot there in anticipation of this. Looks very clean.
Could you submit, Eric, a picture to Sean in the email of what that looks like from the street view?
No, I
so we
didn't. I
use that
can
example? Would
certainly
you
do that.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
we can take some photos of it, though.
Okay.
We can go out there and
That'd
look
be
at
good.
it.
Most of the surrounding communities are at the 6,000, though.
What was that?
Most of the surrounding communities, actually, I haven't found any that are below 6,000, though.
Okay, well, we appreciate you bringing it to us, and we'll
I appreciate
consider
you
it
listening.
and circle back through.
Yeah. So can I anticipate hearing back from
Sean?
Yeah, we'll have Sean give you a call tomorrow. More than likely, we'd bring this to that September 18th city council meeting, because that first meeting in September, we have the Utah Leagues Conference, so we'll probably be canceling that meeting, so our next council meeting will be September 18th.
Unless we get information prior, then we'll
That's
get it to Eric
correct.
right away.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
We'll give you a call tomorrow,
All right.
let you know where we're at. with
I
this.
appreciate, everybody's been super responsive, and thanks for all the work you guys do. I know it's, not a lot of applause. you
Yeah, we get it.
so,
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric,
All right.
appreciate it.
Okay.
David?
Hey, how are you guys doing? So my name is David McDaniel. A few of you guys talked with my wife, I believe, and my father-in-law, and they sent me to follow up with that. They're both busy today, but in terms of the survey in the rec center, yeah. Also, I'm a little more they tend to be a little bit more aggressive than I tend to be. So, but, but they're good people though.
We
So.
get it.
Okay, so I just, we had a couple concerns with bias in the survey that could very well, like, if you didn't know better, you could very well interpret that to have it mean something that it wouldn't mean, especially in terms of getting and paying for a rec center, when no rec center, when the costs are actually added on to the rec center, then it wouldn't make sense for that person to answer the same way. I noticed this as I was going through the survey, right? I started out kind of like, oh, look at all these great amenities. I was actually pretty excited about a lot of things, and but then as soon as I was went through the math and went through the costs on it, right, and started to make a whole not a whole lot of sense, especially considering the cost it would be for me and my family to go to a neighboring rec center. So, their concerns are in terms of the budget with that. So is there definitely going to be a new building? Or have no decisions been made in that regard?
How many questions do you have, David?
I have about 3 or 4.
Why don't you go through them and then we'll address them?
Okay, yeah, that'll be perfect. All right, and then I already brought up the survey issue, so we were a little concerned about that. Yeah, I talked about the cheaper amenities in surrounding areas. Yeah, and also as well, in terms of the bond numbers, we were running that against the cost of similar other rec centers, and it seems like the Provo Rec Center, which is quite large, right? It's quite a big, and was quite a big investment on their end. They did have some ground level to start with, but it was mostly built from the ground up. I think inflation adjusted, so it was 38 million, but with inflation it's about 50 million. So even your 60 million option on that one might be a little bit high. And we were just kind of curious, where would the money be going to if it was going to something like that? So, I think those are the main concerns that we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what I'd say. I don't think I'm mistaken by saying this, but I don't think it ever said rec center in the survey. Is that right?
Community center. It's
Community center, or,
Here's the reason why. This is critical, because we did a facilities master plan recently for the full growth of the city, and so every year for the last 5 years, we broke the record of building permits every single year, just because we have developments on the south side of town that are doubling the amount of doors in our city that were approved back in 2005, 2006, just before the crash. So those things never got built because of the economy and everything else. Now, the developers coming and building those out. So we're anticipating this growth, and it's been proven by the amount of building permits that have been issued over the years. So as of this year, we've already passed the record that we had in this year with the amount of doors. So it's unprecedented, it's coming. So we had to do a facilities master plan to determine what kind of facilities we need to accommodate the growth, right?
Yeah.
So this building here needs to be repurposed essentially at some point to manage the growth of the staff and everything else here, which does away with some of our amenities here. So what we had to do is figure out, we went through a study, had the professionals do it, say, here's the buildings you're gonna need. For example, we just approved a building that's going behind us here for our Parks and Rec, for storage and operations and whatnot. We've got some other growth that we've got to do. We've got the land that we own here. So what we're trying to determine is what type of building, if we have to build at some point, and we have to accommodate the growth, what type of building do we want, right?
Yeah.
And then try to manage it. Here's the cost, here's the things. Is there anything we're missing that the community wants?
Yeah.
That was the point of the survey.
Yeah,
So
and
I want
I
to
get
be totally, and make sure this is totally clear. There is no decision up here to build a building,
Okay.
period.
Yeah.
Now, some comments were mentioned to me. I don't read social media, so I don't know what the heck's typed there, and I could care less. Makes no difference to me. People can type whatever they want out there, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is, if someone approaches me and tries to tell me that we've made a decision to build a building, I can tell them they're absolutely false and wrong.
Okay.
And if you call one of these people up here, they're gonna tell you the exact same thing, because there is no decision to build a building.
Yeah.
This could be that we get the survey back and we get 1,300 responses and they're all no. It gets stuck in a file saying, there is no building.
Yeah.
But we did our job up here as representatives of the city determine whether we need a building or not. Is that clear enough?
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to make
no,
sure
no.
it's totally clear to the public that there is no plan to go get a bond and go build a building.
Okay, sounds good.
It's just, it doesn't exist. Until we determine that that's what the community needs, number one, is to meet the needs. And number two, we want to build what the community wants, right? As part of that, if there's an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
appropriate.
Because we obviously have constraints for cost, right?
Oh, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
And-
that's one. The other one,
Yeah.
so there isn't, that's why we specifically didn't call it a rec center. Because the second year
Yeah,
rec
yeah.
center, what do you think of? You said it, Provo, Springville.
Yeah.
Spanish Fork's spending 70, 80 million on a new rec center right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you think about. That's not what we're doing.
Okay.
That's not Mapleton, right? Let's see what else I have here. Philly master plan. That answered all your questions, right?
So,
But maybe I
But-
could address one of your questions regarding cost. Perhaps you could just generally, at a high level, walk through that process, should we decide to do it. These dollar amounts that were proposed in the survey are generally arbitrary, right?
That's right.
It's not like, oh, we want to do it, we're going to do a $60 million bond, even though the building costs 20 million,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Do you
there's
mind
no
walking through
design.
that?
Until you have a design, you don't know what the cost's gonna be.
Oh,
And until
100%.
you can't get a design until you get an idea of what the community wants and needs
Oh,
are,
for sure.
right? So that's what we're in the process of doing. So
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be mistaken
Yeah,
that
yeah.
these guys up here have in their mind we're building some building. It's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was mentioned to me. I don't know if it was said or not. I'm just saying that's ridiculous.
yeah.
So we,
Totally makes sense.
hey, David, so me and Leslie both, and Corey, we had a good meeting with Mikkel and
Yeah,
Kenzie and have some conversations with Doug as well. And I think one thing that we cleared up is there's no decisions happening right after this survey either. This is the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
There's a lot of outreach, a lot of feedback. And so there's some weight that the survey will provide, of course,
Yeah.
but it just provides direction, right? There's no decisions that we made strictly by, just from what's brought to our attention in the survey.
Yeah, yeah.
And what we have a little bit going on, and it's not just what you've observed and what the mayor referenced, we've got some people missing the forest for the trees. The forest is, we're doing long-term plans, we're getting data from all different sources. The trees are, I don't like your survey because we are data scientists and there's not statistical significance, there's not a confidence level, it's not in the right order I would have recommended, it's not, many of us up here are educated and it came
Yeah,
from
yeah,
a
yeah,
third-party
no,
source. This is qualitative, broad feedback to narrow down on, hey, is a splash pad something that's cooler, or do you want some more room for this? So it really, big picture, just the criticism we've received about this little survey is missing the high-level importance of what we're trying to do, is just put a shot across the bow and say, give us some general feedback of where we can start this process. It's one piece of many things. And so hopefully, people can step back and say, hey, I'm glad I got to say, wouldn't that be rad to have a splash pad? That's what we heard several years ago. Or wouldn't it be rad to have this other rink? But
And-
big picture, be excited. We want to grow together.
No, and I totally get where you're coming from, and I think that, like, if that is, like, what you guys want, then,
Hold on. When you say what you guys want, what are you talking about?
like, if it is, like, just kind of this preliminary thing, the survey was not the best for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So that's your opinion, right?
Yeah,
We hired
yeah.
a third party
Yeah, that's
that's
fine.
done surveys from cities all across the West for the last
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
20 years. I believe they've done an excellent job. They've done 3 for us previously. My
Mm-hmm.
opinion is they've done an outstanding job. That's my opinion. You're welcome to your
No,
opinion.
and
Here's the
I-
thing. I'll say, let me ask you a question. If we get 1,300 responses out of the survey and 80+% of them are positive and want
Yeah.
the Mapleton, the community center, what would you say this council should do? Should they move forward with it or not?
So, if it was 80% from this survey specific,
No, so
Or
then you move
from
forward with the
from
process.
an actual better
and 80%
survey,
of it is
and
positive.
we're in favor, then
What should
of
the
course you
council
should
do?
feed it,
Okay.
of course. Yeah,
That's all the plan is.
Yeah, okay.
We're not sitting up here saying we're building a building. It's
Okay.
totally silly. We're trying to get a feedback, because something's gonna have to be done.
Yeah.
And when you're running a business, the best
Oh,
thing
yeah,
to do is make a
100%.
plan.
Like, if you can
right?
consolidate
That's right.
expenses, that
And
makes
that's what
total
we,
sense.
that's what our responsibility is, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll manage it according to the response. But we
Yeah.
appreciate your feedback and your response, and if you think that the survey was a total hoax, hey, that's totally fine. That's your opinion.
Yeah,
We don't
I-
believe it was, but we can agree to disagree on that, no problem.
So I definitely wouldn't say a total hoax, because like it's just the conclusions that are obvious from it that might seem obvious from it are not as obvious as most people would think,
Okay.
if that makes sense, right? Especially like given how the questions were asked and, you know, yeah, just the nature of it. But as long as it's preliminary, then I have no issue with it. Yeah, and I just want to make sure, yeah, in terms of that like, you know, if there's any needs in Mapleton, like, yeah, like I believe Utah County just approved, you know, they came out and like, they were like, you know, we cut 100 jobs because we were over, yeah, we needed to resolve this debt and we still came up short. They still came up short, and so they had to pass a bond that's raising taxes by something like $8 a month or something like that. But like, you know, just make sure in that process that when you guys do that, yeah, I think it would be appreciated if you make the cost very apparent in any process that goes forward. So
For sure.
Watch for if
Yeah.
anything moved forward and it's related to property taxes, it's required that citizens vote on a ballot for it, so it'll be super transparent. Utah County one, if you want to speak on that, their Truth in Taxation event is in September, so there's a public hearing in September if you want to give feedback about that.
yeah.
Because that's going to affect you and me, all of us, on your property taxes.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
Utah County one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for being involved. We want you and your family and others to be involved in this whole process.
I just would invite you,
Yeah.
if you have an issue with it,
Yeah.
this is the best way to come get the actual information.
Yeah.
It's not on social media.
Oh.
If you want to get garbage, then go put garbage on social media. That's what you're going to get. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
No one wins on social media. If you come here, you're going to get the brutal, honest truth of what's actually going on. Because I'm not going to skirt around it. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on. That's just the way I am. That's who I am. That's where I'm always going to be.
Yeah.
So if you want it, you can call me. You can call here, or you can come here. And I appreciate you coming here because that's the way you get it.
All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. All right, Linda.
Before we change subjects, I want to say one comment that, from my perspective, 100% agree with everything everybody said. I do agree. I wouldn't agree with the mayor 100% in saying that the survey was awesome, because I think we could have done a little bit better job of illustrating what we just explained before people saw the survey. I think we could have done a little bit better job in that. And some of the questions were a little confusing. I felt that taking the survey myself, and I've been involved in this process all the way along. So I wouldn't say the survey was phenomenal, and we have some ownership in that, but I would say 100%. This is a high-level scoping mechanism and one piece of the puzzle, and just like everybody said, I completely 100% agree.
So what I would say to that, Theron, is this. I had some questions about the survey also. When I sat down with Ron and asked him those questions, why he did it made perfect sense. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's why you did that. That's why you did it. It's very informative.
That's why we hired him.
Right.
That's why we hired
No, I
him.
100%
So
agree with that.
I understand
yeah.
what you're saying, but I'm just telling you, you'll see, because you're going to get it presented to you soon.
Right.
And you can ask those questions. You'll be like, oh, makes total sense. That's why this guy's been doing it 25 years. And that's why he's extremely successful at it. So I'd be careful to make those until you get the opportunity to see it and ask him the
So
questions.
my only statement is based on a ton of feedback that I've gotten from citizens who took it and were coming into it with a good attitude, and who were missing some key information that the survey didn't provide them. And that's all
Okay.
that's all I'm saying, is that we could have done a better job of prepping the public that, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing a global study in the city for facilities. A lot of the citizens didn't even know that. So that's all I'm saying.
I would like to know, you say you've had a ton of feedback that way. It'll just be interesting, because I've reviewed the results along the way, and I've gotten recently, as of 2 days ago, a rundown of where it's at, and I'm telling you, I was surprised. So I didn't know what we were going to get. I didn't anticipate any, but I'm surprised at the survey results so far, and it's not closed yet, so that could change. So anyway, I think you'll be surprised, because if you're saying a ton of people, if it's 2, 4, 6, okay, but when I say a ton, I mean 80, 90% are all on the same page. So I want to be careful that we have this loud minority that we don't get confused.
Let me stop you
because-
before you get too far,
Yeah.
because I'm not trying to say that I think the citizens were misled by the survey. I think
Gotcha.
they just weren't prepared enough for what was going on. All I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that the survey won't not surprise me or surprise me with the results. The results are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in preparation for the survey, and the reason why we were doing the survey is the only thing we
Gotcha.
could have done better.
Yeah, we'll address that. Whenever he brings the results, we'll It'll be right here in this room, and we'll hammer it out. We'll beat it up. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do.
Hi, my name is Linda Mickle, and Linda Mickle. And I also appreciate all the time and energy that y'all, that you spend on behalf of the Mapleton residents. I too was a little blown away by the survey. I usually don't even look at surveys through my text. You know, you don't know who they're from unless you open it. I have the large text, so if I hadn't opened that, I would have known nothing about the survey. And some of the people that I've talked to in the senior gym even, they don't text. That's not, you know. So I'm wondering, was there another way that that went out? Did it just go out through text? So that's one question I had. And I wasn't prepared for it either. So I saw things like splash pad and climbing wall, and on those pages there was a place to mark at the bottom, none of the above, but I never saw anything that said, I do not want this, you know, I decline, or even a
Against
comment.
it, yeah.
There wasn't even a place for comments. So, yeah, it just didn't set well with me. It just kind of sounded like it was already.
Already planned, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this, I mean, from this survey, are you going to decide, okay, we're definitely doing the splash pad. We're right here in our, you know, little community. It just, when I first opened this survey, the first paragraph talks about our small town community, and that's why we live here. So to see the option of all those things going right here in our backyard, in our small little community, that was disturbing to me. Also to see the map was really informative. I live just up the street, so I'm here in the older part, and I drive through the other areas, and the amount of people and probably young families are in the majority of it's the south and the west, and I'm assuming you're wanting to put it here because that's Mapleton's property of the city. Is there an option to put it more centrally located so it's not in the little sleepy part of Mapleton, if it's closer to where the majority of people are? I go down to the rec center in Springville twice a week in the morning, and it's not too far from me. I don't need something half a block away, and then there's going to be Spanish Fork. I think that's it.
Great. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
So I'll just make a few comments to Linda's comments. For those that know me, know that I'm very hesitant to get government involved in entertainment, in our own entertainment. If you want entertainment, go buy it, go get it, go do what you want for entertainment. Like I'm not about the government providing entertainment and us spending a bunch of money to do it. What I am about is planning for the future, right, and putting the right things there. And if that is a building that provides the seniors with a gym and a meeting space, and provides the city with a meeting space, because this gets turned to offices for, say, provides a place for our fiber company that's gonna pay us in this city for the next 50 years, is gonna be one of the most valuable things that we own in the city, right behind our roads. and we need another facility for growth in there to put a beautiful library and a place for kids together. Hey, maybe I'm okay with that, maybe I'm not. But it's not my decision anyway. We gotta gather what the people are saying they want, and we have to have enough survey results to substantiate that. You can't get it from 100 people or 200 people, we need more than that. So I'm with Linda on some of those things. I don't need a splash pad here. In fact, I may not ever use it or ever come by and participate in that. It's just me. And so do I want to pay taxes to build a splash pad? I would say, I don't really, no. I don't need it. But if the majority of the city and the results are that that's what they want because we're building the facilities with it, that might make some sense, right? So we have to gather that information the best we can to make that determination. The question was, how did the survey go out? It was through text, and then Madison House, was it through the social media pages too?
It was in the newsletter as well, and I
Newsletter
don't,
in July and August, so we,
so you ran
Newsletter
it
in
for
July
2
and
months
August,
in the
which
newsletter?
hopefully we'd hit most of the seniors. I was shocked when I reviewed a few days ago the response from our seniors of ages 60 and above, because the survey you can sort by 5 years difference in age, so 30 to 35, 35 to 40, so forth. And I was shocked by the amount of responses we got to seniors. So Madison, good job getting it to them, because I'm not aware of all the avenues. That was a good thing to see. You can also sort it by people who lived in the city over 20 years, less than 20 years, 15, less than 15, less than 5. Super interesting to be able to sort the survey and see results and determine why are we getting the results, or sections of town too. And that was a good point that Linda brought up is, you break the survey into quadrants, or I don't know how he does it, but I think you put on there where you live, and so then it breaks it up, and then you can see this corner of town, this corner of town, this corner, and where the requests are coming from. So super interesting, this survey and how you can break it apart to really try and determine what's going on. Did you have another question, Linda?
Will you come up to the microphone?
I can repeat the question if you say
Oh, you
it.
can, okay.
Along with where it is and the people coming this way is the traffic that will bring up into this area.
Okay, good point. I didn't write that down, but my opinion on that would be this, or our opinion based on surveys and other information we've gathered. Theron and Casey were on Trails Master Plan recently, and we spent 9 months putting that together.
Yeah.
And did open houses, surveys, hired a company to come outside, come do it, put it together. The result is a 30-acre mountain bike park on the south side of town, right? And then all the trails, they've got 5.5 miles of trails we're adding there that come to that spot. We have a 10-acre piece that just got donated to us on Highway 89 on the south side. We've got space down there for a secondary fire station if we need it. We're talking about a skate park. Where do we put it? We put it, maybe on the north side. What we're trying to do is create amenities throughout the town to exactly do what you're talking about, Linda, to not have everything right here that people are just coming right here for it, right? So we're trying to manage that. These outside firms we've hired have done a great job of assisting us that and saying, hey, grid planning, good ideas, here's how you do it, lay it out. And so we're taking all this information and trying to create the best possible outcome. The most important thing is the result from the citizens and a good sample so we know how to move forward. We've had previous surveys in the past. What's going to be very interesting is how those line up with this. Because this isn't the first time we requested what's most important to the citizens of Mapleton: trails, outdoor space, indoor space, blah, blah, blah. So it'll be interesting to kind of match that up. Last response out of surveys, we got 800, I think it was, between 700 and 800, Madison, on the last one, which they thought was an outstanding sample. Super encouraging, way more than a lot of other cities that, get responses from surveys. So that's encouraging. We might have double the response this time, which is encouraging for us.
Did you say we were already at 1,300, or was that a
Yeah,
was
we're
that kind
past
of a
that,
guess?
which is unbelievable. They're all freaking out saying, we don't know how you guys get this kind of response, but this is incredible. Right?
25%
Yeah.
of the adults in about 25% of our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that's really encouraging, but like it was said before, we're so far back here, like at the cusp of this. We don't have answers for you. Like, we're just trying to gather the information. But I will tell you, we will be absolutely transparent and clear. When those decisions get made, they'll be made right here. There'll be public comment, like Jessica said. If it affects your taxes, it's going to the ballot. So we're going to vote on it, right?
And I would add to that, and you asked this question about, there wasn't a no option. And I just will bring your attention to that last page. We gave some different tiered options, and one of those, there were 4 options. One of those was keep Mapleton as it is now. No community center, no additional increase in funding. And so there was an option to indicate that on that last page. We tried to, on each page, ask for other, an other comment or other feedback. We tried to be very, very thorough with those offering an opportunity for a variety of responses. And so I just wanted to make that, just bring that to your attention.
Okay, good. All right, thank you for your input, and we will move forward with our consent agenda items. Numbers 1 and 2, we'll look for a motion or questions.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Beck.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
All right, item number 3 is an action item. It's consideration of a resolution approving the proposed cost of $48,621.72 for total power and controls to replace the outdated electrical and control system on the 1600 North Sewer Lift Station. Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, thank you, Dallas. We went back and forth as whether to include this on the consent agenda or a separate action item. Basically put it on the action item to see if you have any questions. The summary is that in some of our older facilities, 1600 North lift station is the lift station, I think the first lift station that was built when the backbone of the sewer system was built in the early 90s. And we need to upgrade the SCADA system, which is SCADA is what feeds back to our to Public Works and tells us where the levels are at, how it's functioning. Those need to be upgraded, and then as we got into it, it was clear that the electrical system does not meet the current standards, and it's not just technically doesn't meet the current standards, that we've had issues at other old facilities where things have shorted out because of the old wiring system. So we need to redo the wiring in the SCADA control system. I put it in the budget I put $100,000 in our sewer budget to start doing this. This is the first one. This is the oldest lift station, and so it's the first one that we're going to tackle and get everything upgraded. And with that, if there's any questions.
Is this the same station we replaced the motor recently? It was within the last year?
No, the motors that we replaced were in the wells.
That's our water.
Booster pump for the drinking water system and a well pump.
And then you said this one was one of how many that you're planning for this budget year?
Well, it kind of depends on, as we look at each one more specifically and get the cost back, what it's going to be. But with this budget, we've got $100,000. This is probably the most expensive, but if the other one is 40 and I'm getting close to the 100, then we'll just do a second one this year. If we look at the next one and it's 25, then we'll look at a third one this year.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed cost of $48,621.72 for total power and controls to replace the outdated electrical and control system at the 1600 North Sewer Lift Station.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Garrett.
Egbert, yes.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Thank you.
Carlson, yes.
Thanks, Reed. All right, number 4, consideration of a resolution approving a purchase agreement with Falcon Buildings LLC. Logan.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So just want to give a little bit of history on just where we've come on our building. So as you recall, we've had a lot of discussions on our new maintenance building. A lot of good progress is being made. And back in June, we approved the budget for the construction of the building. The anticipated budget was $3 million. All of our estimates are coming in under that, so we're encouraged by that. And so the first step in that process is to procure the metal building, which then will also help finalize the design. And then they can be released for bid, and then once we get the bids back, then we would then award the contract for the construction. So this was just kind of give an update really on our process, and then also just to know that the budget has been approved, and this is just kind of our next step in that process, so.
Logan, out of respect to the public record and for those people who may be watching this online who may not have followed this conversation along, would you mind just briefly outline the reason for this new building, the
Yep.
need, and the condition of your current facility?
Yeah, for sure. So the Parks and Rec, our maintenance staff is currently housed out of the old community center, which is the old not community center, community building, which is also the old fire station on the corner of Maple and Main. As Dallas alluded to earlier, we went through a facilities master plan where we identified all of the needs, conditions, and in that process, it was deemed and the building is also half burnt down. So we've made it work, but we're at the point where we've outgrown that space for one, and we just need more space. So that was identified in that. The cost to retrofit that was equally as much as what it will be to just build a new facility. Building it over here will also help keeping all of our city services kind of on the same footprint. So after we finished the facilities plan, we then identified what it was exactly we needed, worked with, again, third-party architects and consultants to kind of work through space needs and requirements that we're gonna need, not only for now, but also for build-out. You know, we're building this for the future of the Parks and Rec in Mapleton, and we're very confident that we'll meet that, based on, you know, even as of recently, that the donation of land that we got last week, I feel very confident that with that and all of our other proposed projects, we'll have the space to accommodate. So based on all that feedback, we then went through the design process. We're about 80% design right now. And then, like I said, this just helps us get the structural designs finalized. They won't release until we've purchased from them. And then from there, we go out to bid, so.
Logan, I mentioned in the packet that it's looking like the total cost will be under the 3 million. How quickly would everything have to be built out to kind of, to hit that number of 2.3, do you think? Like, will it be built out over the next year, or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's hard to tell. Inflationary stuff right now is super hard. It kind of goes up and down, and, you know, we've had paint for our soccer fields has increased 20% and decreased 20% in the same month. So some of it is kind of hard to predict. But I'm pretty confident that with the progress that's being made, that we're gonna be able to hit those metrics in the current conditions that we're at. So again, kind of hard to forecast some of those. You know, metal buildings for one of them is really, I mean, the price of steel just kind of does this, and you never know what it's gonna do. And I would imagine a lot of those things in the building would be similar to that. You know, concrete pricing and all of those things, so.
What's your ideal timeline? I mean, the most likely timeline of having it built and you moving in?
Yeah, so our hope is to finalize design the end of this month, go to bid the first week of September. That'll be a 3-week bid process, and then hopefully award a contract sometime middle of October. If we could have the contractor to mobilize before the snow flies, that's my plan, is to try to get as much of the site and civil stuff done. So then in the winter months, we can go vertical and work on the actual building itself. So that's a very probably ambitious goal on my.
Next spring, you should be
Yeah.
fully functional by next spring.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yep.
And to Logan's
Also-
point, just wanted to emphasize, this has already been approved by the budget. We just wanted to bring it forward, just saying, hey, we're going, moving forward. We'll be able to do that in-house as far as just approving different phases of the project, and only bring forward to you when we award, if we have to go out to bid and award at that contract, so.
Also, for the council's sake, well, I guess for everybody's sake, Logan did a good job too he got several metal building quotes, and then, bless you, and then he checked with me because we do metal buildings also, or we order them from certain companies, and he checked some of the places we did. We checked the price, checked the timeline, and he went with the best one. So he's doing a good job of watching costs and checking and getting multiple bids and stuff. So good job, Logan.
Great, and I appreciate the update, and I look forward to seeing it. And unless there are other comments, I'll make a motion to approve the purchase agreement with Falcon Buildings.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones, and a second by Councilman Beck.
Beck, yes.
Jones, yes.
Garrett, yes.
Carlson, yes.
Egbert, yes.
All right, we have one more item that's a discussion item. Presentation. Yes.
Call in Katie with
Maybe Rob explain.
So it's a discussion item, presentation on the draft Mapleton City Water Systems Master Plan, culinary water and pressurized irrigation. Rob?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I'll do just a quick introduction while we're getting Katie on the phone. So Katie is a project manager and had been planning to present and got sick, so she's making herself available in case there's detailed questions that she may be best positioned to answer. And Steve, are you making the presentation? So Steve Jones with Hanson Allen Lewis is here to make the presentation. What I've asked to do is just, we're going to do a presentation for discussion only, see what questions you have. I guess then just looking for feedback at the end of how you want to proceed. If really there's not a lot of discussion or a lot of questions that you have, then we'll bring it back at the September 18th meeting and just get it for approval. If there's a desire for more time to kind of go through it in more detail, let me know, and then we can make our plan from there of how do we bring it to you for final approval. So with that, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm Steve Jones. I'm the CEO of Hanson Allen Lewis, and we were hired to put together this drinking water and pressurized irrigation system master plan for you. I have to say, after all the discussion about other amenities in the city, everybody uses water in your city.
You're telling us there's no option.
Well, Katie wanted to make sure that I mention, Hanson Allen Lewis, we work with many cities in Utah, and we do lots of master planning, and working with your city has been a joy. Sean, Rob, Brad have been wonderful. Seth's GIS, impeccable. Usually we have to fix it so we can do our job. We didn't have to, and then Lonnie, the billing data, again, usually we have to fix it. But great data, your city is in good hands, we have to say.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Second thing is just overall, you're in good shape too. So usually we're coming in, we're picking apart all the problems. You guys are in good shape. Existing deficiencies are at a minimum, and you're in good shape to serve all this growth you've been talking about. So again, kudos, you get an A+.
Thank you.
We'll get into the details.
We believe you with all the work you guys do for the other cities, so.
Okay, so just some overall, we took your land use plan that you've approved, that's our basis, and we built it out as if you didn't change the land use planning. So it's the snapshot in time today, and we built it out. That's our assumption. We also, took the anticipated annexation areas. So that's assumption one, is that we use your land use planning and your vision of the city. Probably it'll change over time as you accept zoning changes, but that's the assumption. We also had to make a growth assumption, which, as the mayor discussed, you're growing at record rates. However, when we do master planning and impact fees, we have to be conscious of the developers, and they have helped the state develop rules about impact fees, et cetera. So we want to be very responsible in our planning and our assumptions. So we chose the governor's office and then MAG's growth rates for the master plan. And if you grow faster, that just means you need the projects sooner. So it's not really a problem, but this overall, this is the growth rate that we assumed. It's probably wrong because we're trying to predict the future, but this is what we assumed. And so I basically said these things. So there's no year assigned to the end of the planning. So again, it's a growth rate, and we're building out your land use, and it'll probably change. So just some terminology, we have a unit we've defined for the drinking water system and a unit we've defined for the PI system, the pressurized irrigation system. So in the drinking water system, we define an ERC or an equivalent residential connection as the average use of one single-family residential. And then if there's like a restaurant or something that's non-residential that uses 6 times the amount as a single-family home, they get assigned the use of water of 6 families or 6 homes. So that's what an ERC means. And then on the outdoor watering, it's based on irrigated area. So, and specifically, we define that as 50% of the lot size for residential, assuming 20% for commercial. So again, that's based on your zoning and what's going on in the city today. Okay, so then if we add the land use planning and the growth and calculate what the ERCs and the irrigated acres are today and project out where we would get to if we built out like the land use plan says, we're at about 3,500 today of ERCs, and we're projected to get out to 10,500 or so.
So that 10,000 is a total, not an additional?
Correct,
Okay.
total. And then when we look at irrigated area, so some of the irrigation will always be served by the drinking water system, but the plan is most of it will be served by the pressurized irrigation system. Right now, some people are using the drinking water system. They will eventually use the pressurized irrigation system. So that's why there's 4 quadrants here. Drinking water system will go from 482 acres down to 201. That's the projection. And then the pressurized irrigation system will go from 533 acres up to 1,803. So again, there's the projection. And so now when we analyze the system for deficiency and what needs to happen, we look at source. That's the source of the water coming into the systems. The storage, because we need a buffer, a battery that can withstand, help buffer the peaking. And then we have transmission. That's getting the source water to the home. So there's our 3 components of both systems. So on the drinking water side, we have several wells, 4 wells in the city. And then we have the springs, which are very important. It's one of your oldest source of water and will continue to be a very important source of drinking water for your city.
So the project
Yeah.
is worth it.
I think
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Rob can,
Despite the comments. Yeah, resounding yes, okay.
yeah. Important facility. It'll serve you well into the future. And on the pressurized irrigation side, again, you have some wells. Now, the main scheme of the pressurized system and the drinking water system, in reality, you're pumping as much water as basically is available. And so the idea is that you're going to use more imported water or the irrigation water, the strawberry water, for your outdoor watering, and it'll alleviate or allow the drinking water system to use the groundwater. So that's what you're going to do. It should work well for you. You have enough groundwater as long as you don't overuse it on the grass, if that makes sense. We're going to use the outdoor system to do that, and then you should be fine. You still have 3 wells that you're using on the irrigation system, and then you have Hobble Creek, Maple Canyon, and then you have the imported water, the Central Utah water, which is your main source of new water going into the future. So source recommendations, again, you have sufficient system existing for both the PI and the drinking water system. Your drinking water system has enough capacity to meet the future demands as long as you get the irrigation demands off of there. It's limited by the aquifer that I mentioned. That's your source of water. If you want to grow more than what's in the ground, we're going to have to look for another source of water, probably treated surface water, probably from Central Utah. But as far as now, you have a good plan. Drink the groundwater that's nice to drink, and use the surface water for outdoor. Without the largest well, so if you took your one drinking water well that is the largest, and let's say it broke, it happens, right? Technically, the future drinking water system would struggle. So we recommend that as a good way to plan. Take your largest well out and make sure you can meet all the demands and nobody knows the difference. That would be ideal. And so because of that, we recommend that although you're fine right now, just make sure you're planning to construct a well for redundancy. Probably we need to reconstruct Seal Well, which is an existing well, and then the springs, which I think are well underway, and it's going to turn out to be good for the city. But they're a very important project to meet the entire needs of the city. So several source needs on the PI system. And again, that's probably going to come from your lower pressure pipeline that runs through your city. And then this is kind of new in this master plan, but we're going to tap into the higher pressure ones so we don't have to actually pay for power to pump it up there.
Yep.
You're already paying for that high pressure. We're going to figure out how to use it. So that's a new thing. So storage. You have Maple Canyon tank, you have tanks, Crowd Canyon, you have Lower and Westwood. So there's a little we'll talk about Westwood tank a little bit, maybe later. And then on the PI side, you have one big facility that serves you well. It's in a location that it does have to, you have to pump out of it. But the higher pressure Central Utah is going to help you actually reduce your pumping costs. We'll see how well that works, but that's the plan.
It's got plenty of pressure in it. Should work great.
Yes. The storage recommendations on the drinking water and PI system, basically you have what you need for future. So you've done well, and you really don't need any additional capacity. It's all available to sell to future developments. Now there's a Westwood tank is a little bit of an issue because it's at an odd elevation that makes it hard to use, and so it's more of a problem in the system more than useful. You actually don't need it as far as capacity, so there is a recommendation to consider decommissioning it. Replace the lower tank with a larger tank. So when it comes time to maybe do something on that lower tank site, you have a lot of storage up above, which is great, but for ease of operation and for energy efficiency, because all your sources a lot of them are down in this lower zone, it'd be great to get a bigger tank to be able to optimize operation in the system. So I'd call these minor, we can focus on minor tweaking, optimization, because you're doing so well.
Excellent.
So that's what we're recommending on storage.
I've got a question about
Yes.
Westwood. I was intrigued about the tank. This is topic adjacent.
Yes.
What can we learn now about the Westwood tank why was it established too low? How
Probably
does
somebody
that
else
happen?
could answer. From an outsider just looking on, I'm assuming it's just when that development came in, that was the solution, and so that's what was approved. They needed storage, and it wasn't you.
Well, your guess
So I'm
is what I just thought. What is the science that results in a tank not being useful?
Yeah.
Maybe none of us will know that, but
Yeah.
it just stood out to me as what?
So,
Rob, why would they put that?
It was not done. My understanding, the best that I can, information that I can gather, which is very limited, is that it was not done on purpose. It was a matter of
Hope not.
a survey bust in terms of what the development was designed at versus what they had understood to be the elevation of the existing lower tank at up at the canyon. I don't know why nobody double checked it or triple checked it or whatever, but it was just built and then it started
Value
to
of
fill and
communication
they
on that
realized
one.
this is useless.
Okay, thanks.
yes.
It's interesting.
And related to that, so there is a recommendation to take that neighborhood that is really low pressure because of that tank and actually increase their pressure. So that should be a level of service increase for that neighborhood. And I think it works out better for the city anyway, so. Yep, I think no more questions, right? I was moving on to transmission. So the transmission, like I said, is how you get the water from the source and the storage to the homes. And for the most part, you have adequate size. But we do recommend, again, we can focus on optimizing the system, but we do recommend that you plan for the replacement. Now, these pipes last a long time. Some, like the tank, some are better conditions than others. And so you probably want to make a plan to replace the ones that maybe are breaking more, that have material that is not as robust as other material. So we do recommend that you probably plan for that future replacement. Not just bury your head in the sand and assume that it's good, and all of a sudden, you know, they all break at once. So that we recommend that you do have some sort of plan that would be responsible. Pumps and boosters are typically considered part of the transmission because they move the water from source and storage to homes. So here's the meat of the master plan. Pressurized irrigation, drinking water system, all the colors are the projects that we recommend you do. Again, we won't go into them detail. They're in the master plan. If you want to get into details, it's pretty boring but because you're in good shape. So here's the bottom line.
I have one question,
Yes.
Rob, on that. Can you go back to that? The red on, looks like it's Highway 89. It's hard to tell. Is that part of the project you're doing right now? It looks like you're making some of those connections right now.
No, the red is on the drinking water side.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's where we've
Oh,
got
that's
hot
right.
soils and
That's right.
and not enough
Gotcha.
protection on the
I see it.
existing metal
Never mind.
pipe.
Yeah, so a lot of those are where they want to target replacing pipelines first.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So here's the drinking water system, and this is a very low number, and that's because you've put in a PI system, and so you're moving off of the drinking water system, and you have capacity basically for future development. So don't let that deceive you. The future growth is paying for the capacity on the PI side more than the drinking water system, because you've got the demands off the drinking water system that creates capacity. So it's low cost on the drinking water system, higher cost on the PI. Now we do have this is a fairly high number, but it'll be probably over a very long period of time. And again, it's maintenance projects, planning to tackle the worst ones first over time. And then this is what we would recommend. If you had a line item, that's about the number we would recommend that you plan for so that you can replace pipes over time. And then this is the pressurized irrigation system. So you can see the growth-related projects are much higher because that's the system that needs to get built so that you relieve the capacity on the drinking water system. Slightly lower, but similar cost on the ongoing operations and maintenance projects. And then the annual cost to replace over time is a slightly smaller number than the other one. So that's the bottom line. Again, that's a big purpose of the master plan. A lot of times the projects get changed because once you get into the details, you fine tune them, but it's really a cost document to make sure you understand the costs that are coming up so you're prepared and planned, which you obviously have done in the past. That's why you're in good shape today. So recommendations. Complete the capital facility plan as growth happens, stay ahead of it. Do the O&M projects again, so you don't let the system fall apart, but it stays in good shape. Evaluate impact fees to make sure that the money that you're asking the development to bring to the table is their true cost of bringing them online. So that's important to make sure that's lines up with your costs. Consider the funding replacement program that I mentioned on both systems. Evaluate non-revenue water. Again, another thing to keep a handle on. If you're losing 40% of your water, that's probably not very acceptable. That's water just you're putting back in the ground. I guess you'll repump it later when it filters down and you pump it out of your wells, but still, just keeping a handle of how much water you're putting into the system and what actually gets billed. And if it's much more than 10 to 15%, there's probably some work to be done. So and you just have to monitor that. Make sure it doesn't get away from you. And then continue to implement energy efficiency, which we touched on. So I think that is the presentation. So thank you. And are you going to entertain questions, Rob? Okay.
Okay, any questions for Steve?
That's great. It's very concise.
Sorry, my mic turned off. At the beginning, you talked about the, based on ERCs.
Yes.
Was the recent kind of big push change for ADUs across town and ADUs being allowed in every zone, was that accounted for in your numbers?
That's a very good detailed question. That's a Katie question, or even an Enoch. Oh, Enoch can handle that.
So in calculating the ERCs, we looked at existing water usage and your billed water usage for the last 3 years. And then for condominiums and townhomes, we considered those as 0.85 of an ERC. So anything that was smaller than your single-family residence, we reduced the amount. So any areas that are coming in as high-density residential, those were accounted for as slightly less than a typical single-family residence.
I think another important part of that too, when we were determining the ERCs, is Katie did a good job of calling around different developments, like looking around and seeing what size homes, how many bathrooms, on average we were in different places, and then calling up several developers of new developments and saying how big of homes, how many bathrooms are you anticipating in here? And so I don't recall that we adjusted it necessarily because of the ADUs, because there's a lot of really big homes with a lot of bathrooms being built, whether or not they have ADUs. So it was kind of we think we've got it covered. We'll update this, on the anticipated timeline of updating master plans is every 5 years. So we'll be able to see if there's a difference as we continue along. But I mean, there's some really big homes, so ADUs probably aren't the difference.
Yeah, if you look at other cities, when we look at ADUs, et cetera, typically there is no difference, because typically a big home, if they rent out the basement, that means probably the family is smaller, and that's why they're renting it out.
Right.
And so it's hard to
Or
make any distinguishment.
Their kids have moved out and they're using the way less because
Right.
there's only
And then the one in the basement is probably a very small family.
Yeah.
So again, usually the home.
Counts for size rather than for actual relationship.
Yes.
volume of water. That makes sense. Super, thanks.
Mhm.
Am I able to be heard
Yes.
Yes.
by the group? Okay. The audio quality is very poor, so I can't really hear what Steve and Enoch's answer was. But we did not consider ADUs, but there is some capacity in the groundwater after all of your current usage is considered that could absorb some ADUs. And then ADUs would not increase the outdoor watering, and so it should not change the pressurized irrigation plan at all.
Yeah, I thought about that.
We got it, Katie, good job.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Steve or Katie? Wow, Katie, you did a good job. You got one question out of a 150-page report.
He also makes my job easy.
Go ahead, Reed.
I was thinking that maybe I don't understand the distinction between the two, but I was thinking many of the maintenance items on the list for upgrading would also be more on growth than it would just be existing maintenance.
Like, for
You know what I
example,
mean?
what was an example of one of those, Reed?
Well, just like replacing some of the pipelines, the existing pipe's fine, but it needs more capacity.
So when we have replaced 4 and 6 inch pipes with 8 inch pipes, that is more based on fire flow. And so your fire authority has agreed that the existing fire flow is adequate, but it could always be improved a little bit. And so that's more about better fire flow and less about capacity for growth.
Or if you have a 4-inch pipe and you replace it, by state law, you have to replace it with an 8-inch pipe.
With an 8-inch pipe, yeah. So it's.
No matter
it-
what the fire flow
gradual-
demand is.
it's more when that pipe needs to be replaced, we're going to replace it with an 8 because that's the minimum pipe size now.
But we spent so dealing with the impact fees and understanding existing deficiency versus future growth, there are specific rules at the state law level, and we pay attention to that very closely. What can be put to future growth versus what is existing.
You good, Reed?
Yeah, I think I followed it fairly well, but I'd probably like to review it in more detail because it looks like we could maybe move some of it. Because certainly anything out of the growth would increase our impact. I guess the impact fees that developers will pay for the future.
Yeah, and when we get to the impact fees, we actually do a certification, and I guarantee you, we will put everything we can on the development side.
Yeah, so that is.
And then it's up to you to reduce it if you want to, but we are going to put as much as we can, we could, if we are called and you're sued and we have to go, we're deposed, we are gonna put what we can certify according to state law. And then it's up to you, if you wanna reduce it, that's your prerogative, but we're gonna give you the highest that we could support and certify.
I think that hits exactly what Reed's asking.
Yeah.
We got it covered, Reed.
Yep, yeah, so that'll be kind of
I know
FYI,
this more
that'll.
than I do. I was making an observation. We need to make sure that we have everything in growth that we should have in growth.
Yeah.
One other question I had was, I think it was page 1661. The way it was worded anyway, as I quickly read it, our current usage right now is about 4,500 acre feet per year. And then on the next page, it says our capacity is basically uptake to 5,200 cubic feet per year according to our permits and the allowable uptake from the aquifer that we're taking water from. That means we're really pretty close. Maybe I'm missing something.
Nope.
He's not missing something.
That's correct. So I can speak to that one, yeah. So it's not that, like, we have the capacity in our pumps to pump out more. For the long-term health of the aquifer, that's the estimation, is that we shouldn't be taking any more than 4,700 to 5,200 acre feet out of the aquifer per year. We're getting pretty close to that. We're also doing some pretty major projects to get people switched over to pressurized irrigation. And so in the future, we should be keeping on top of things to bring that number down instead of it going up.
And just for your info, this is not part of the detail of the master plan, but our other groundwater modeling that we've been doing for other people, the prediction is actually you're using more than your area allotment, and you're probably pulling in water from Springville and Spanish Fork.
We won't tell them.
Yeah. Because you pull it down and it brings the water. Anyway,
We're using their water and making them pay for it.
a little bit.
I thought we agreed not to say this in the public meeting.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
It's legal.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, Steve. Katie, Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate
Yes, that
your
was great.
help with
So,
this.
just as a quick follow-up, the next thing that we're gonna do is they'll be putting together the scope and fee for you have to do a separate impact facility analysis and plan, which is what we were talking about. So they'll put together the scope and fee and bring it to you. Based off of that, are you all comfortable with me bringing it back for final approval at the next council meeting, it'll be the third Wednesday in September?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, Katie, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I missed your helper's name here.
Enoch.
Enoch. Sounds like Enoch does all the work and Steve gets all the glory. So Enoch, good job, Enoch. Just kidding. All right, that was just a discussion item, so I think we're good to move forward, right? This is a perfect example. I just want to make a statement as I've been thinking about this. You know, it's really easy for someone to, in our city, and I have to admit I was guilty of this as well. You get some information like a survey, and all of a sudden you just freak out and say, what the heck's going on? And then you want to react based on that, right? But if you come down here and you find out, this is such a perfect example what Steve and Katie have laid out here. And I'd be the first one to say, if someone has an issue with what we're doing, I am all ears. And if there's a better way to do it, so be it. We will absolutely listen and do it. But I want to make sure that the council is very firm and understands we're not coming out of this stuff out of our hat from one day to the next. You look back over the last 5, 6 years, what we've done from a land use plan to city water master plans to our facilities master plan, our sewer plan, the storm drain study we're currently in the middle of, the vehicle replacement plan that we went through, the trails master plan, the budgets we do every year. I mean, this is extensive to get to a point to make a decision on whether we're going to do a building or not, right? Like, I think that too often, I want to make sure that we don't get caught up in this, us capitulating because someone says, well, what are you doing? Why are you even doing this? I want you to be loaded with the information like, look, this wasn't pulled out of a hat. Someone didn't come up with the idea yesterday and we started talking about it today. We have literally gone through and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to come up with the studies to be able to move forward on something like this. So I want to be careful we're not apologizing for what we're doing either, because if someone wants to walk in here and tell me there's a better way to do it, oh, don't hire these professionals to come up with the information and do it. I got a better idea. Okay, what is it? We're all ears. Come bring it, present it, bring it to the city any day of the week, Monday through Friday, anytime you want. We'll listen to you and we'll accept your, recommendations. But I just want to be careful we're not listening to a silent majority on this way should do it when they don't want to come here and talk about it and come get the truth of what's actually going on. That's it. I had this feeling going through because this is such a great report, Steve. Thank you. You guys do tons of these all over the place for lots of cities. So thanks for doing ours. You guys do a great job. It's detailed. And you just heard from him saying how great shape that we're in. But how many times do we hear our water's terrible? We're losing this. We don't have enough of this. We don't have enough of that. I want you to be armed with the resources. Okay, if you believe our water's terrible and we don't have enough, will you explain that to me? Most likely, they can't, right? And so I want to be careful that we're not just taking that information, running with it, and trying to respond with it. When the reality is when you say, all right, I'm all ears. Tell me a better way. Tell me what your recommendations are. If it's better, we'll move forward that way. But I don't see a better way. And when you look at it from a business standpoint and running a business and planning for the future, this is the way you do it. Or else you're going to fall on your face, right? We don't know everything. We're not professionals in every one of these fields, and we don't know all this stuff. Luckily, I happen to understand water and sewer and pressurized irrigation, storm drain, and those things pretty well. And so for me, it's pretty easy to listen and to work with them and work with Rob. And, it won't be the same for everyone, which I get, which is totally fine. But if you got a better way, come present it and don't just tell us the way we're doing it is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I want you guys to be loaded and locked with that information to have the appropriate conversations and make sure that we're not apologizing for what we're doing, period. Anyway, I had that feeling because Steve was a great report. You guys did a great job, so thank you.
And I think it's important to listen and to hear out.
Yeah, for sure.
There's always a place for that.
Yeah, we're not claiming that we know everything and we're like the best at what we do. We're not. We're simply claiming that we're doing the best we can hiring the professionals. It's like, I think about building an airplane. And if the engineer says, put the wings like this and pitch them like this, you're like, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're not an engineer. I think the wings should go underneath, and you do it, and you crash and die. Well, whose fault is that, right? I mean, we build everything we build from the ground up, through the ground, above the ground, is based on what an engineer says. So if we're not going to do it this way, how do you want us to do it, right? So anyway, I just want that to be clear, and I want us to use that to make sure that people understand that that's what we're doing, because the rest of it's silly. All right, sorry. Move forward. Administrative reports. Madison, you want to start? You don't have anything? All right, great. Okay. Bryce?
We are in the process of closing our year end, so we'll come to you soon with the audit report and all that information. Just so you're not surprised, Greg Ogden retired.
Oh.
Good for Greg.
Retired, and hopefully we'll be able to enjoy retirement. And we have hired HPME. They are out of Bountiful, and they do a lot of cities throughout the state, a lot of government
Great, thanks, Bryce. All right, Logan.
All right. So one thing we wanted to just bring up, so down in Mapleton Heights, there's already a proposed park that the developer will be putting in, and then the city will retain ownership of. One of the things that's crucial about this location is its proximity to the trail. You know, even recently, we've had some questions come up of, hey, can we get some bathrooms along the trail? Well, we're working on that. Those plans are coming, and this is one of them. So in the development agreement, they'll dedicate the land to us. They'll construct the trailhead, so we'll actually have a trailhead connection to the Parkway Trail. This is directly south of Twin Hollow, right as it makes the bend into Mapleton Heights. And as part of that trailhead, there'll be parking, picnic tables, bathroom, and landscaping. And then we had requested some additional amenities, one of them being a pavilion. Again, just proximity to that trail, and as we build out our trail system, we felt this was a good area to just have that leisure activity. The developer then came back a couple weeks ago, and some of the residents that are moving in expressed an interest for some more amenities in the park. Obviously, the developer, hey, the development agreement says this is where we're gonna do it. I think they have since reevaluated to understand the value of a park and an amenity in their development, and have now come back. So what we wanted to talk to you tonight about is if there was interest to be able to build a playground in this park, there would be some investment from our side. You know, we're roughly looking at 30 to 40,000, and then they would contribute the additional to help construct. This is the proposed layout of it right now. So you can see
You
up
guys know
here.
where this is, if you come down the trail, like the north up there's a north, you're coming down. When you pass the park, right under the bottom here, shortly after that is, you guys have seen where the roads cross across the trail, like there's a kind of a road that's prepped coming right there. It's just before you get to that crossing.
Yeah.
On the right.
This little enclosure is the CUP enclosure that's adjacent to the trail right on that bend.
That's right.
So our furthest south gate, this is just directly south, about 200 feet.
Where is the playground being proposed?
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
But I would imagine we're gonna be over here in this area. So this is the pavilion. Our bathroom structure would be on this side. We'd have the parking, or adjacent to the road. And then this is all proposed, landscaping grass, just leisurely play. This is existing scrub oak that would stay and wouldn't be touched. It would just be preserved as what's there. And that was one of the recommendations that staff had, was to try to minimize taking out as much of the scrub oak. Me specifically, I love that look. And so we tried our best to try to maximize some of that, but then also add some amenities. So really, it's just.
You want something else, or do we care?
I think it's definitely worth looking at, because that whole neighborhood to the south, that whole development is gonna be young families. But we also need to make sure we think about the future, that $100,000 or $80,000 playground is gonna be $150,000 replacement 10, 15 years from now. So we just need to make sure we think ahead from.
And that size, that dollar amount playground, I mean, I know inflation has changed since the Treehouse Park was acquired through grant and otherwise at Harvest Park. That's a legitimate playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's not something that's like at Wing Point Park.
Yeah, I mean, the playground at Harvest Park is roughly about a 13,000 square foot pit. Wing Point is about 6,500, so it's about half the size. Now, the one at Wing Point, if you recall, we replaced that one last year, is about 90,000 for that playground.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, so North Park was set to be replaced this year. It's about 120,000 for the structure.
So we realistically could pay 80, 90,000 and
Yeah,
get that little.
I would, I mean, if you don't want just a tot lot out of a magazine, then yeah, I think that's.
That's why I was saying 10, 15 years from now, it'll be 150,000.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it just depends on what play elements and the surfacing. You know, the one down at North Park, I don't know if you've been down there, but it's artificial turf. Underneath the artificial turf is concrete. And so really, we don't have an option to put wood chips back in unless we take out all the concrete. So that one's getting turf put back in. So turf is a little bit more expensive than wood chips. And there's case studies on all of them on what's better than.
And that one's an
Next.
ADA-specific playground, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
How large is this park?
It's about an acre, well, just shy of an acre.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact.
So Logan, based on their feedback, what do you see the timing to be and where do you go from here?
Yeah, so our timing was just to kind of get some feedback from you if it was of an interest, and then we'll go back and work with the developer and making sure what they're interested in. Obviously, they're probably not too interested in spending money because that's money out of their pocket. But I think we can also come to an agreement with them that, you know, I'm a firm believer in playgrounds, so I was grateful when they came to us. You know, originally it was, I wish we could, but, you know.
So timing-wise, when do you anticipate coming back to the council?
I'd say probably by our next council meeting, we could have at least some direction of what that would look like.
I think if you had them bring something that they were proposing, would it be too much to ask them for some, more of an elevation or a 3D drawing of showing rather than just
Oh, yeah.
showing it on flat?
Yeah.
And see if their architect will do like a 3D showing where they want it and what it looks like with the trail?
Yeah.
It could be more interesting, and then we could provide appropriate feedback.
I agree with that. I guess my thought is, that comparison with Wing Point Park with the cost and so forth in this location, knowing the size of the neighborhood around it,
Yeah.
that just feels like not a big playground to serve that. Now, it would be one of how many little playgrounds that the HOA may have, I don't know, but.
Hey, but we're really good at telling developers what to do. Let's just tell them to dedicate lot 230 and put the playground there and like beautify it, make it look good right there. Wouldn't that- Why not? It's one less lot. It's not even a big deal. Just kidding.
I'm in. One thing too,
Supportive.
On that point, though, I don't know if you've had conversations with them about HOA parks that would be going in there, and what type of amenities they'll be having at those.
I mean, very, very brief. I'm sure Sean could probably answer more of what those are that are more the HOA specific. I do know they have a couple pieces in it that are open space for their residents, but I don't know the
Let's bring that
specifics.
back next time where we can kind of show you that.
Yeah, if you'll provide all of that so
Yeah.
that we can see inside of both of those, what is there and compare it, then they can make a good decision.
I do know with playgrounds right now, and even up of recent, in the last month, there's been some new, let's call it legislation, new guidelines. I mean, these structures are going high. There's been some couple that I've been to recently, as I was a kid, man, it'd be awesome. So I think we're maximizing that footprint, so to your point on the footprint of it, but if you can go this way and get all of your play, you obviously have all your use zones and your fall zones and your swings, and all those have different.
Just tell them
zoning,
we're
but-
open to it if it's something really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then let's see what they propose.
yeah.
On a concept plan like this, how many parking stalls can you get?
I believe there's 13 in this one. Yeah. And one thing to note on this too, just proximity to the park that was just dedicated. I mean, this is directly north and a little east.
Northwest.
Yeah.
So,
Northeast.
so we do have 10
Northeast.
acres that would serve, you know, it's in Mapleton Village, but it's adjacent, right on the line of Mapleton Heights.
And northwest of the mountain bike park.
Correct.
This is north.
No, it'd be
southeast of the
northwest.
mountain. You're right.
Yeah,
With trails throughout to connect it.
That's
correct.
right.
Yeah,
Connect all of
everything
it.
would
It's gonna be
connect
sweet.
to each other. Yeah. So.
It's almost directly.
Okay, sweet.
And then, other than that, we're just getting ready for soccer and football's coming up. We'll start after Labor Day. I don't know if you've been able to see, we did a new reversible jersey this year. The feedback we've been getting is awesome. That'll also help reduce our costs every year to not have to buy jerseys. Something the kids now get to keep. Obviously, as they grow, they'll have to have another one. But we're really excited about that, and I don't feel like we compromised any of our value of how nice our jerseys were. And one of my favorite features that our staff came up with was I value RAF is on the back of it. And we've had a lot of questions on what that means. So that's our new sportsmanship initiative. And I value RAF stands for I value referees, athletes, and fun.
That's great.
And that's something that we're trying to instill in all of our coaches and our players to make sure that, you know, those are kind of without our refs, without our athletes and if we're not having fun, what are we doing? So it's been good to push that out.
Make coaching T-shirts that has RAF and then definitions and then what that means. Parents, shut up.
Yeah.
Right?
QR code to sign up to ref on the back of it.
Poor coaches, poor refs.
We've actually thought about
Sign
putting a
up.
QR code on our site
Want to talk?
supervise.
Be a coach.
So-
My 6-year-old wore her jersey today to school.
Love it.
She wore it blue, and then she came home and it was black. So,
Nice. Perfect.
reversible is awesome.
Perfect. Perfect. And then just a couple, it was asked last time on the Moonlight Half, for those that are available, we would like if you could come and help at our aid station at the pond. So those that are, if you want to just communicate with me if you can, that would be awesome. It's on September 13th. Right now, we're at 162 runners, I think.
Wow.
So we're trending in the right direction. We're excited about our numbers there.
And are you seeing the numbers from Mapleton residents increase with that, or
Not as much. We're about
like?
25% right now, our Mapleton residents. So a little bit higher than we were last year, which is encouraging,
But not a lot,
but
okay.
not as many, yeah. And then we've got our Scarecrow Festival and our Community Pumpkin Night. They'll be coming up in October. Just want to get that on your radar. That is October 13th, I believe.
Is the what?
The Scarecrow Festival, our Harvest Bake Off. One thing we're doing new with the Harvest Bake Off this year, well, actually a couple new things. One is we're doing a junior division. Last year we had a couple parents that were like, my kids love to bake and they bake with me. Can they do it? So we added a specific junior division this year. So we're excited to see what that is. And then we're also going to be closing down the street on Main Street and going to do a cornhole tournament in the street adjacent with all the food trucks to hopefully help get more people involved and part of it. So our staff is doing an awesome job coming up with new ways to connect and bring our community together. And they're definitely taking it to heart, all the feedback and things that we get. So I'm excited for those changes.
What date did you say?
I think it's the 13th,
That's a Sunday, so it must be the
the
12th.
12th. Yep, thank
I'd
you.
love to hear that the bake-off is still going.
We're going strong.
Fourth year,
This will be our third year.
third year, okay.
Yep, and we're going to the winner from last year to get some smack talk from her to all of her people.
Good.
So, wasn't my mom this year, she was pretty upset, so she's coming back ready. So, anyways, and then one quick thing, we are gonna be doing a new Veterans Day event. I don't wanna spoil too much of what it's gonna be, but we'll have some more details coming out in the coming weeks, and I think it'll be a really cool, unique way to honor our veterans and something I'm super passionate about and I don't think we do enough of. So be on the lookout for that. I think it'll be a really well-received new event for our community, so.
Excellent.
That's all I got.
Logan, good job.
Thanks, Logan.
Sean's not here, but I told him Logan was the right guy for the job, so. Steve and Enoch, you guys are welcome to sign up for Moonlight Half Marathon. You can do it tonight with Logan. We'll give you a discount if you guys want to do it. There's still room. Okay, Chief?
Yeah, I was listening to Logan talking about how you should behave, and I'm suddenly a little self-conscious about my behavior as a coach in years past.
We're all aware, you can't hide it.
And the regret I have. I text Chief Glasgow to see if he had anything that he wanted to report tonight. He said no, but I think it's worth noting that last week there was that brush fire on the southeast side of town that even though it had rained, it snuck up the hillside pretty good. Those guys got down there and got that out pretty quick. So I had a guy pull in my driveway that night and express his appreciation. So I think that's worth noting in here. Did you go on that call, Theron? Were you on that call?
Not the brushing while I was at work.
Okay, so there's one right after that too. So that day they had a couple right there back to back. So that's worth noting. I wanted to follow up with a resident that came into you, I think it was 2 council meetings ago, about speed down on the west side, on a road down on the west side. We put our black boxes up there. We put both of them down there. And it's a typical response that we see. I've got your numbers. 52% are at or below the speed limit down on that road. 48 are between that 1 and 9. And then you have the high speeds after that. So if you've driven down Doubleday, both of our speed trailers have been down there for 2 weeks, and we'll leave them there for another week. Talked to the resident last week, and they felt like they're seeing some improvement just based on what they're seeing with that. So I wanted to follow up with that. 2 more things. Moises graduated last week, so he's out on the road. Zach's out on the road. Kind of just a fluky thing, but we've had some things pop up for him in the last week, and they've been right in the middle of it, so it's worked out pretty good today, or this last week. Today, Moises got in a situation that he'll be on the rest of the night. It'll take him all day to clean that up, so they're getting some good experience quick. Hope they're out on the road by themselves pretty soon. And then I just definitely want to mention our event this coming Tuesday. 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the city park. Pretty excited about this. We've got some other city entities participating, so I think it's actually gonna be pretty neat. Fiber's gonna be there, Parks and Rec is gonna have some stuff there, but also the one thing I'm really excited about is NYCC participating. And one of the angles they're gonna push is being inclusive and anti-bullying stuff. And so I just think that's awesome. I'm pretty excited about that. With that, I'm not asking you to do it, but if you want to, which I can't imagine you would, we do have 15-minute sessions in the dunk tank, if any of you want to get in the dunk tank. So far, Representative White has stepped up. He's going to do it. I'm going to do it, so we got some others if you guys need to cool off.
Is it going to be the same dunk tank that we rented for the?
I'm not sure.
I vote no. I vote no on that one because I had 30-minute session in that thing and I got bruises still left on the back.
Well, this is 15
They
minutes.
really didn't like you.
They did.
They start throwing the ball at you.
Were they throwing the ball at you? Yeah.
No, it should be fun. So if you got a minute, I'd actually like if you have a few minutes, come over and maybe interact with those NYCC kids because that's going to be pretty cool what they're doing for us. So I'm excited about
It's
that.
6 o'clock, right?
6 to 8:30.
I've got a few kids that keep asking me when it is.
6 to 7:30. What did I say, 8:30? 7:30. The other thing too is we're gonna have our crossing guards there, and they're gonna cross people over to Logan's building, and they can do a little bike demonstration, some safety stuff with bikes too, so should be pretty fun.
We've thrown a lot of events at you, so we'll send an email in the next day or two with all these upcoming dates and times, so.
Great, Chief, thank you. All right, Rob.
Okay. All right, since we're not going to have the council meeting the first week of September, we need to get going on our ADA ramp project, which we're doing the bid opening tomorrow. So probably early to mid next week, we'll be sending around asking for an email asking for approval to get the contractor going so that we can get that finished up before paving season is done. And then we'll bring it the second council meeting, or I guess it'll be the first council meeting, the third week is what I meant in September to have that ratified for approval. Also, there's, as part of the new lead and copper rule of having to track down any potential lead and copper still left in your system, we will be sending around a survey. It's going into this newsletter, and then we'll probably do a separate one to anybody who has homes that are older, 1990 and older, that we haven't been able to verify whether they're actual personal line from the meter into their house and everything in their house. If we don't know what it is, we'll be sending around. We've got to notify them of the possibility and see if they know and can tell us what they've got in their home. So just be aware that that'll be going out in case there's any questions. And then just while they're here, wanted to give them a shout out. It's on the top of my mind because I just put in the invoices so that we could get the disbursement on that $2 million grant for our Springs project, but really want to give a shout out to Hanson Allen. Steve was the reason that we got that grant. And Enoch and Katie put in the work to put it together, but Steve's connections are what got us that grant, so he is to thank for that $2 million grant.
Thanks, guys. I restate, the Midnight Loon Marathon, free for you too. And Katie.
Extra cup of Gatorade for those.
That's right. Handed to you by the city council members at the station. Okay, Rob, thank you. Appreciate it.
Or you can have a prime spot in the dunk tank as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Good luck with that survey, Rob. So a couple things. Chief mentioned the public safety night out. I'm excited about that. It'll be fun for families. Politics are swinging, guys. It's ramping up for the next session. I've talked to quite a few of our legislators recently, and the league is ramped back up with the Legislative Policy Committee. Yesterday or the day before, there was an event called How Zoning Killed America in Utah, so sponsored by our developer friends. A couple things that are already on the docket. We've got developers using their own inspectors as backup. Property Rights Coalition wants cities can't require garages or carports, and they're trying to prescribe parking stall sizes that appear to be too small right now. Even more expedited reviews, changes of how bonding works, and the winner, which isn't as bad as the one that I really didn't like last year, but upzoning all residential areas statewide by at least 1 unit per acre. So That's what I got this week. But today, another report came out with recommendations out of the governor's and Waldrop's office, so I'll get some more information on that. But I was hoping we would have a little bit of time to implement all of the housing policies and see actually if they resulted in anything. But clearly, that is not the case. I'll be real excited if Utah figures out how to change the federal interest rate. That'd be kind of cool, but pretty sure that's not going to happen. So gird your loins, folks. Going to be a good time.
Okay, great, thanks, Jessica.
Nothing for me.
Okay, Leslie?
No report?
Okay, Theron?
The only thing is just a reminder that we will not be having a fall cleanup this year. We're moving forward with just doing that in the spring only.
Okay. Camille? Corey? Wow, great, that's crazy. Good job. All right, with that, we'll look for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Jones, a second by Councilman Beck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Thanks, Reed.
Gary, yes.